Welcome to the Dr. Random podcast. I'm Dr. Sarah, and here's the deal. We don't do boxes here. Every episode is different, every conversation has its own flavor, and no topic is off limits. If you're looking for predictable, this isn't it. But if you want real conversations, honest takes, and a touch of intellect in the best way, you're in the right place. This is Dr. Random Podcast. Hello, and welcome to the Dr. Random Podcast. I'm Dr. Sarah, and today I am so excited because I have Dr. Karin Luise on the Dr. Random Podcast for a second time. And we're talking about something that, I don't know, we're talking love, we're talking dating, relationships, just kind of, we're going to just have a natural conversation here and deep dive into it and kind of probably throw in both of our personal experiences and also throw in the science and the psychology behind singleness, dating, love, all of that. And Dr. Karin, thank you so much. Do you kind of want to do a little brief introduction of yourself again, just in case maybe somebody didn't listen to the first podcast?
Yeah, well, I'm excited to be back on and see what unfolds here. I'm Dr. Karin Luise. I live in Atlanta, and my background is I am a PhD trained therapist, and I used to do inpatient and all kinds of, I had a private practice, and then I had a spiritual awakening, and I started leaning more towards looking at energetics and spirituality. And Sarah and I found each other through my book, The Fatherless Daughter Project. I have another one called Sacred Shift. And I now really love helping people that are really high capacity, that want more for their lives. I help people to shift and reinvent because I've done it so many times. I'm kind of the expert on it. And being of a certain age, I've realized that most clients that come to me are either coming to me because of divorce or relationship issues, or they're just having a major reinvention because something in their life has shifted. And it can be that your spirituality is changing or your career no longer fits. So many people are going through big pivots right now. So that's become my Jimmy Jam. That's what I do right now. And so, I teach trainings and I have live events. I also have the Live Collective here in Atlanta. Sarah's come to one of the events, and that's a new thing. So I've just, check me out later online, and I've got a lot of stuff going on. But I love this topic because there's so many variables. Everybody can relate to it. There's going to be something that I think everyone's going to be like, oh my God, that happened to me, or that's where I'm stuck. And I think it's really important to explore, like we were talking about before we came on, like gender issues, differences between male and female, masculine, feminine, expectations in relationships, and being single or being married. Everyone has something to say about, have you had kids? Have you not? How many? When are you having them? What's happening? Why aren't you married? Have you ever been married? How many times have you been married? How many times have you been divorced? So there's judgment from everybody that hasn't been in your situation, pretty much.
Yes. So I guess we could start off by, I think, just to get raw and real, maybe we could each talk about where we are right now in that arena, if you're okay with that.
Sure. Give some tea on where we are personally, outside of all the fancy degrees and the DRs and the PhDs. Go ahead. You're first.
So I'm single. I have no children. I am not opposed to having children. Some people might judge me for that. They might think, oh, aren't you too old or a little old to have children? But I don't think so. I did blood work. This is going to sound funny. I did blood work, and I was told that I could still have a baby if I wanted to. I don't know if I want to do that. There's always the possibility, I joke, of, a surrogate with his sperm, my egg, but or adoption. There's a lot of different options with that. But I want love. I crave love. I want that male companionship in my life. And I've just been so busy since I kind of went from getting finished with my master's in 2019 to COVID. And when I explain this to people, I think they understand more why I'm single. And I don't know if I'm a rare bird in this way. And I'm not saying this, it's no judgment on those who do. I'm not trying to sound like above, but like, I don't sleep around. So it's hard though, because I will say, it's not that I don't crave that and I don't want that. It's just that I just haven't been in opportunities where I met people. And, I finished my master's in 2019, then COVID hit and that was like non-existent. And then I started on, my journey with my doctorate, which started in 2021 and I just finished in mid 2025. And that was like taking up a lot of my time. And so that's kind of like why I think where I am now when I explain that. And I'm not on any dating apps. I know you guys are like, well, no wonder. But I'm more of an authentic person. I have had dates here and there. And I would say, but I'm kind of a romantic too. And it's not like I've been celibate the whole time, I'll be honest on that. But not as much as I want to be, I'll tell you that. So just kind of going into that, talking about love and relationships, I just find it so important and so key. And I'm all about love. I talk about love a lot. And I even leading up to I know we're thinking Valentine's Day, but we didn't do it. I was doing these, some people might think I'm corny but like they're called conversation starters.
Yeah.
So for couples, I was posting these on my social media, kind of leading up to Valentine's Day, just kind of fun conversation starters, because I think that getting to know your partner in ways by asking questions like this is interesting, and it brings up things maybe from their childhood, or could talk about different topics that you're just getting more intimate with each other. And and a book I always rave about, I'll just share it real quick too, is Things I Wish I'd Known Before We Got Married. I just think this book is awesome. I'm just going to share that again. And of course, I know you have some great resources too. So I'll let you take the floor now.
Well, yeah. So I have been married twice, and I got married right out of college to a professional athlete. Well, he later became a professional athlete. So I had a really public marriage my first go round, most of my 20s, and then a very public divorce. He was very unfaithful, and hit rock bottom after that. That was bad. And we had tried to have kids, and I went through a lot of infertility. And meanwhile, he actually had a few kids with other women while we were married. And rock bottom of rock bottoms of rock bottoms really devastated me. And I came out of that just kind of just decompartmentalized in every way. And then into my 30s, I wanted to understand more about why people do what they do, because my dad had actually done something really similar to my mom, and they had gotten divorced. My mom was married 3 times, and for good reason. And so I wasn't unfamiliar to it, although nobody gets married to get divorced, and it's a life-shattering experience. And I went from having this identity of I was a baseball wife, I was here in Atlanta, and I also was doing other things, but all of a sudden, like didn't have an identity. And that's the other thing, like when you've been through marriage and divorce, like you have to start over. So I'm back to school, and I wanted to understand like what makes people do what they do. Really, was the reason. And I got a master's, and then I ended up loving it. And I continued on like Sarah and got my PhD. In the meantime, I ended up meeting my second husband, and 6 years later, we got married. And I really pushed getting married. We were together to have kids, but we ended up not being a really good match. And I kind of gave him an ultimatum. And the good news is we did have 3, but I went through infertility. It was very, very, very excruciating. It was horrible. I felt like God had forgotten about me. Like, I mean, this discussion is where everyone's been through some layer of this, whether they have kids now or it brings up all your stuff. And I really had just thought, why do I have this desire for having kids? And I was getting close to 40, and I was like, how do I not, like, I love kids more than anybody. I was an elementary school teacher. I was like, God, where are you? Like, where are you in this? So using fertility, we used IUI. I got pregnant with twins after having a miscarriage at 3 months, which was also devastating. Anyway, I got boy-girl twins out of the gate, and my life again flipped upside down, because then I had 2 babies, and all of a sudden, like, you don't know what you're doing, and it's like, what is happening? Oh my God. And then miraculously, like, I got pregnant naturally after literally anyway, I won't get into the details, but shockingly, a year later, I found out I was pregnant, and I was like, because I didn't know if I could do that naturally, but I got jump started, I guess. And so I had another one within 2 years, and he was really medically fragile. And that was another life shatter, because then there I was like dealing with a near death experience all the time. He actually died once for 5 minutes and came back. That's another podcast. But and in all that, I ended up having a spiritual awakening. And the spiritual awakening and the events surrounding that really catalyzed us separating and getting divorced, because we just went in totally different directions. There was already so much fracturing there. And when I decided I was going to really launch kind of another new identity for myself. He really dug his feet in, and we were like oil and water. So
Mhm.
didn't want to get divorced, but then I had 3 kids. And so, I mean, they were like 4, 6, and 6, I think, something like that.
Mhm.
When that happened, that was 2014. And then there I was, like mid 40s, getting divorced, well, early 40s, getting divorced again. And it was a total reconstruction. That's why I
Uh-huh.
love helping people with reinvention now. But the reason this topic and love come up so much and why you're so drawn to it, first of all, everyone wants to be loved. But second of all, any of your issues are going to be experienced and triggered through relationships. Like they say, if you want to know about yourself, you want to know your triggers, get into a relationship. Um,
Mhm.
so it's always going to be pushing against the unhealed childhood stuff, the desire for longing, worthiness, value. And, we're also not going to say that, since I've been in 2 marriages and, it doesn't mean that all your problems are gone. It doesn't mean that, I mean, literally, I counsel people all the time that are in not a good situation or not in alignment. And it is not fair to ever think that just because somebody's married, like all of a sudden they feel worthy and loved and it's perfect, because very often
Mhm.
it is not. So there is a
Mhm.
challenge on each side of it, but I can speak to a lot of it. And now I've been
Mhm.
single. We got separated 12 years ago. So I'm like, I've been very so it's like I have a whole different life. And now I've had a few relationships in
Mhm.
there, some crash and burns. I had like a false twin flame that again almost like destroyed me from the inside out, but that's it. He was 20 years younger than me, so I had one of those. And then I've had just a couple other along the way, but now I have not dated anyone in over 3 years. I'm like, I
Mhm.
see a couple of guys right now, like maybe once a month, but
Mhm.
I mean, I have 3 teenagers now. They're
Mhm.
17, and 15, and it's kind of my work, and my work's my world. But I'm like you. Like, I wanna be loved again. I mean, who doesn't wanna fall in love again? The cool thing is we still get to have that, like, our person's still waiting, and so we still get to go through, like, that beautiful experience, which I'm looking forward to
Yes.
as well. So,
Yes.
there you go. It's so
Um,
funny when you go through decades and decades, and then you can just describe it in, like, a sentence of 5 minutes, and you're like, "Yeah, that was 30 years of my
you're
life."
like, yeah. Wow. Yeah. And I actually, I I was, I was married too before. I like married my first boyfriend and we were
Yeah,
very young
yeah,
and
yeah, same. Yep,
just cop it off with
yeah.
that. But like, it was a long, long time ago. And yeah, I
That
don't
happens
even,
to so many people. Someone yesterday said that to me too, and it's funny, they didn't mention it, and then under their breath, they're like, "Oh, actually, I was married at 19, and I was divorced by whatever, 21, and I kinda just don't count it." It's like, yeah. It's like the rest of the world just had boyfriends and moved in and then moved out, Those of us that
I
got
know.
married had to go through our first divorce. Anyway, your
Hmm.
last one too.
Hmm. Hmm. Um, and yeah, like I am kind of, I'm kind of a romantic, whatever, but like I feel like sometimes if I don't know, I think about like men, how what if they, you think you have a connection with somebody, okay?
Mhm.
And they always say like, oh, if you're feeling it, they're feeling it. But I know that's not always the case. Unrequited love.
Oh, yeah, for
Um,
sure.
but I would say just the psychology of why it seems like right now, it seems like I've just kind of been watching the vibe on like Instagram, social media, what people are saying about relationships. And it seems like men seem to be, and this is not men bashing at all. This is because I have love for men. I actually love men. And this is another point I wanted to bring up real quick that I always believe in. I think a woman either really just loves a man, loves everything about a man, and same with men. They just love a woman, they love everything about a woman. And I mean, like their scent, their smell, like everything about them, you just want to put your nose in their hair. And, it's just, I I love men. I always have. And I just, think that they're great. And so I think that now I lost my train of thought where I was going.
We were talking about probably the masculine and feminine men.
Yes, taking
Yeah,
the lead. So like
really,
I
yeah,
feel like what's
yeah. It's
missing
all
is like,
over the algorithm right now.
yeah, and it's like, man, come on. Like, the thing is when they take the lead, it creates a sense of confidence in the woman, and we're not questioning if they're actually into us or not. It like and then when they go, I feel like, and take the lead and take that masculine jump to us, then we're like, okay, you know, and it creates, I feel like, a good balance where, you know, the woman chasing is not good. And then I've heard something, I heard at some point, and we can address this later, was something about the guy felt good because the girl could fly on a private jet and have all this money. And I'm like, that's weird pressure. So I'm like, are there hidden pressures going on with men and women? Like, we're supposed to be rich, we're supposed to be making all this money. It's like, no. Like, you know, if you really love somebody, I feel like you could be in a shack with them on the beach and you'd be happy. It doesn't, money doesn't matter, you know, it doesn't. Because, like, so, anyways, I'll let you kind of see, I don't know what you're
Yeah.
thinking about why that's lacking right now. Why aren't men taking the lead? Why aren't they asking women out? Why aren't they taking the move? What are they scared of? Or
Yeah.
what? I don't even know if scared is the right word.
I think confused is the right word. Well, and I will say too, money doesn't matter unless you think it does. And if you think it does, then you're gonna probably attract somebody that also thinks it does. But then what you end up learning is
Mm-hmm.
that it's not about the money. There's a certain energy to it, but it's a false chase for happiness. But I think what's happening is I think men are actually really confused because I think that this generation was raised with women really coming into their power in a way that it's like the pendulum shifted. It's like, like my mom didn't work. She stayed home until she did. She became a pastor later, but she raised us. She stayed home. And, there was kind of a typical family, in that's coming out of the 60s, 70s, and into the 80s. And in the 80s, we had this boom of women working and women, coming into their power, which was necessary. And then I think what happened is as time has gone on, men have been raised in this environment where women, queen energy, boss babe, like that's been really trending. And I think I have a lot of sympathy for men. I'm like you. I love men. I love masculine men. I don't want a controlling man. I also have all the narcissist experience. I've
Oh,
gone
yeah.
through 3 of them, including my dad, which is four. Um, but so you've got that on one end of the pendulum. But then
Yeah.
the ones that really are guys, I think they're really confused because they've been imprinted that women can do on their own. And a lot of women have, and probably me included, like have really led with that. Like now that I've lived alone for 12 years, well, I have 3 kids, but like I don't, I mean, I've got to learn how to do everything or outsource it. And it makes you fiercely independent. And I do think it's really intimidating for a guy because anthropologically, women want to be cherished and men want to be needed. So when a woman is doing everything for herself, there's no place for a man to be needed. And so we do, like, I know because I've done it. I'm like, I got it. No, I know I can do it. I can do it because also, I think for women, a lot of us have daddy wounds, and I mean, this book that I wrote. Um, because of wounding as children or wanting to, what we do is we self protect. I found that in the
Mm-hmm.
research when I wrote that book. When we haven't figured out how to have a safe relationship, often women will self protect by doing it all themselves. And so you've got this, I can do it on my own. And so what it does is it kind of subconsciously puts a wall up, and then men don't have a place, right? So then men start getting used to that. And then they think that, I think collectively they're confused because they want to be needed really badly. But then almost if they want to be needed and talk about it, it might sound whiny. Or, I mean, I don't think that, and men, of course, aren't raised typically having as
Mm-hmm.
much communication with people as women are. Women sit and talk about
Mm-hmm.
things. We sit with our mom, we talk ad nauseum with our friends. Guys don't do that. Like something happens with guys, they go golfing, someone's dad had just died. It's happened so many times with my guy friends. They come back and I'm like, well, how is he doing? And the guy's like, I don't know. We didn't talk about it. They don't. Meanwhile, we've unpacked
Yeah.
everything and told every
Yeah.
detail.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that that has been a big shift, and it's brought me to having a lot of compassion for men because I don't think they know where to be. So
Mm-hmm.
I think
Mm-hmm.
often they think that if they don't understand this as much, I think, as we do because we're talking about it. There's a divine feminine and a divine masculine. I think right now collectively this is what we're healing because the
Mm-hmm.
pendulum has swung. I mean, swung so much. I mean, way back thousands of years ago, women actually were the ones that were actually empowered like pre-Jesus. I mean, there were priestesses. I mean, that is a fact, a historical fact. And then patriarchy came in and we swung way over here.
Yeah.
And now and I won't get too much into this, but there is an energetic shift back to now healing that. So
Mm-hmm.
what happens then is there's a lot of wobble as we try to find our way back to the middle. And so what I think is happening now, just from a woo-woo perspective, is divine feminine is healing. And in that is us also being willing, which is a lot of, look at your sweet little dog back there. Mine was just right here. A lot of it is try. going out of our comfort zone. Like for me, a lot of it, and I would imagine for most women, because this comes up at almost every
Yeah.
event that I have in person. This topic always comes up. Leaning back into receiving. They say the man leads in the 5D, excuse me, the woman leads in the 5D and the man leads in the 3D. So we are the intuitive leaders. We're basically the priestess in our home. We're the ones that intuit, that emote, that lead from, the men, powerful men usually are, not that women can't be powerful, of course, because we
Yeah.
both know they can. But
Mm-hmm.
very often the man will consult with the woman and she leads in that, here's what I feel like you should be doing, and then they say the man's role, I'm getting chill bumps while I'm saying this. Typically, really anthropologically, the way his DNA is wired is to take care of things and be needed and be the security, right? Like be the
Mm-hmm.
fortress of the house. And the woman is there to lead in the spiritual side. I don't mean that men can't live with faith or lead with faith. I don't
Mm-hmm.
mean that, because a lot of people would
Mm-hmm.
argue that.
Yeah.
But I think we're healing that. But what it means then is for women to lean back, because I think a lot of what's happening, because that's all over my feed as well. Like Taylor Love does a lot of talking about this,
Yeah.
is that we're barking about it a lot. And I think that it's got men back on their heels a little bit, because I know, because like the last relationship I had, I thought he was really masculine. I really wanted to call that in. But what happened was he ended up going way into his feminine in the relationship. And it really refined for me when we broke up. Because at the end, I was like, I literally am making all the plans. Blah, blah, blah. Like there were a million different things.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you just like have disappeared. Like what?
Mm-hmm.
And and I think it's because he's just done anyway. A lot of the men get into that pattern in relationships, and then the dynamic can get really skewed, because then what
Yeah.
happens is the woman is getting angry, and we're saying, "Why
Mm-hmm.
don't you lead? Why don't you lead?" And then they end up hearing their mom, "You're not good enough. You're not good enough," because a lot of men have mother wounds where they were never good enough, and or if maybe it's their dad wound, and then they retreat. So we've also got attachment style in here, and women tend to be more, anxious attachment. Men tend, just typically speaking, tend to be more avoided, and that's the reason. And so we've got all of those dynamics, but I do think we're healing it. But I think when we find our person, like those of us that are really being conscious and intentional about this, there will be a collaborative co-creation of something new where these issues are being discussed, and kind of like you would do things like, okay, I really need you to plan the date, pick the restaurant,
Yeah.
and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lean back and receive, meaning foot rub, whatever it is, gifts, whatever. And I don't mean you have to get gifts, but y'all know what I'm saying. Be able to receive instead of
Mm-hmm.
always doing everything yourself and making light of it, and say, okay, now why don't you do it, even though it may not be the way that I want, but let the man be needed so he has a place. So I know I just talked a lot, but that's what comes off the top of my head, because I think there are issues everyone can relate to. Because a lot of women are saying right now that their husbands, their relationship, their guy is in the feminine,
Mm-hmm.
and it's very, very frustrating, because now, even though they've been in their that's the thing, and I'm going to end with this. We have been in our masculine for decades, and it has really skewed things and has not done this a service. So we have a role here as well. But the men have gotten very used to it. So it's like they
Yeah.
don't know what to do. So there's kind of got to be a retraining.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'll lean back and go ahead and let you comment, because I said a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah, it's hard because it's like, I think about, I almost feel like women put on their armor a lot, and
100%.
especially when we're doing everything on our own, without a partner. And the thing is we don't want to do that all the time. Like, it's almost like I wouldn't say a defense mechanism, but it's like we have to go through life sometimes with that. And when we meet somebody, I feel like it's going to be easy. It'll be natural. It's like, we're going to flow, and you won't have to but I feel like at the same time, it's like, I don't want to plan everything. I don't want to always feel like I'm, the one in charge here, whatever. It's like like you said, the woman wants to go into her feminine. She wants the man to, and of course I know once reality sets in with life, you have to figure out things like, okay, bills, groceries, car stuff, all that, that's real life. And I think I read somewhere that it's like the butterflies in the tummy, the love feeling, like, is about 2 years. And then after
Yeah.
that, you go through a stage of like, still like adoring them and everything, but like, you know, the more reality sets in where you have to like think, who is this person, get to know each other, like how were you raised on this issue, how you think, you know, like I read something where it was like with forgiveness and apologizing in relationships, which
Mhm.
I think in kind of in a way could be detrimental if you're not smart about it or aware. But it's like, well, how were you raised with apologizing? Oh, we just say I'm sorry and we're good. Well, not in my family. I was raised where you have to explain why you're sorry, and I want to know you're not going to do that again in more detail. And so that could be a big disconnect. So it's like things like that where, you know, it sounds annoying and you think, wow, like that's a lot. But if you dive into that, you're going to avoid problems later. It's like, you know, so I think that just communicating is huge. I think that maybe sometimes even having same hobbies, different hobbies. I don't know what you think on that. Like, I think it can work whether you do have the same or different things going on, at least a few the same. But um, I don't know. And it's like with the dating sites and stuff, I've just completely gone off of them because it was a waste of time to me. I was just like, it was going nowhere. It was nothing. I wasn't going on any dates with it. There was no heartfelt conversations.
Yeah.
My filter radar, like looking at profiles, is so like I would see one thing and I'm like, nope.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I was like, that's a, you know,
Mhm.
and it's just, I don't know. I just think that I also, as you know from the past, I like having my faith. I believe that sometimes, I don't know, I believe that you can find, I feel like sometimes you meet people. There's a reason, there's a divine reason sometimes why people are in your life. And I think that, you know, sometimes you have to listen to that. Sometimes I think it's scary. I think it scares people. I think there probably have been situations where people have been thrown into a situation where they're like, whoa, what am I feeling? Like, this is crazy, and it almost scares them so they run away from it. But it's like, well, don't do that. It's like, don't, you know, I think there's like two extremes with certain situations.
Mhm.
I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, but
Yeah, well, you're
you
gonna
know
keep
that.
attracting if there's a lesson that you're meant to learn, you're gonna keep attracting it in different people. It's just gonna take a different form because you have an
Mm-hmm,
energy, you have an energetic magnetism about you based on your beliefs and what you're here to learn in this life, and
mm-hmm,
you will keep attracting the same relationship pattern until you do the work on it.
mm-hmm,
And, but yeah, you were talking about communication and specifically the way that we apologize or the way that you fight. Like
mm-hmm.
there's a, you know, we're looking now at nervous system regulation and dysregulation and because based on the trauma that you had in the home, how much
Yeah.
fighting was there, what was considered like I realized like I was raised in a really chaotic I mean, I know I was raised in a really chaotic home, but I'm really comfortable with fighting. Like it was just everyone fought, all that there was a lot of yelling.
Mm-hmm,
Um, and then like it's exactly what you just said, where like then when we would be done, specific to my mom, like we would be like totally normal, like the next like we're fine, we're good. We would just kind of duke it out a little bit, and then you know, I realized my tendency in relationships was to want to kind of duke it out, and I would get kind of I'm also a Leo, so I would get very, you know, we've all got feisty at our core, or some of us more than others, but I've got a lot of it. I've got a lot of fire, and I did realize in my last relationship, like it would dysregulate. Not that I would go screaming, but I just wanted to get in there, and he was really avoidant, so there was he would back up, and then he needed like literally like 3 days, like he couldn't if there was any conflict. But my point is that's a really good example, and I learned that where I was like I cannot be with someone like that. Like to
mm-hmm,
your point, it would be smart to talk about this early on, let people know because like a certain sentence from somebody or behavior means something to them and the other person it can be, you know, trigger childhood wounding and you don't realize that. But so
mm-hmm.
like for me, like raising my voice or me wanting to like really get in there, he would get all triggered about his childhood and dysregulate and he would just like need to go in the basement for 3 days.
Oh,
And so my point is I can't be with someone like that. But I think for everyone it's that you and that's the good thing about going through relationships, those of us that aren't with the same person is you keep refining like what what you want and what you don't want. And so, you know, you get closer and closer to that person as time goes on and 100% talking about it and having a partner that's willing to because you're no one's going to be just like you. You don't want to marry anyone just like you. That would be boring.
mhm,
You're going to trigger each other very often opposites attract. The thing that you that made you love them, whether they're introverted or extroverted or whatever it is also the thing that's probably going to drive you crazy later because you're like, why can't you be more here? That is just normal human relational
Mm-hmm.
psychology. And um, having those conversations where there is, especially around conflict, where we both understand what the other one needs. You drop the love languages in there. Some people really need words. Some people words don't matter. Some people need gifts. Some people need, affection, all that. And so
Mm-hmm.
that book, it was really groundbreaking. It's really, really important. I've like the 4 agreements for me has stood out so much. I'm always repeating in my head 2 of those agreements, which is don't make assumptions and don't take things personally.
Yeah.
And, I am like constantly, if I'm in a relationship, even with women, I'll say to myself, don't make assumptions. Like don't assume that this was about you, Karin, and don't take things personally. Like let it go, let it
Yeah.
go. And because, we tend to take
Mm-hmm.
things personally. We think
Mm-hmm.
it's about us. Um,
Yeah.
okay. So then you talked about dating apps. I go on and off of them. Um, I think it is whatever you're feeling when you're in there is the experience you're gonna have. If they start frustrating you and whatever, like, then don't stay on them. Like, if they're gonna
Mm-hmm.
confirm to you that your person's not out there and everybody sucks, and then don't be on them. But if you can
Mm-hmm.
be in there, and this isn't not neither is better or worse, good or bad, but if I'm in a space where I'm like, I just see it as an open window. I'm like, I'm just gonna open
Mm-hmm.
the window. It's definitely a needle in a haystack, depending on which
Mm-hmm.
one you're on. But I'm like, I'm a needle in a haystack. I've met like over the years, I'll go on and off. I mean, each time I go back on, I usually will meet like at least a friend. Like, obviously, I'm not married, so I haven't met my person, but I've met a few. But that's like one in the 5,000
Yeah.
you like look at. So, and then, but when I start getting frustrated, I jump off because I'm like, this is
Mm.
not doing me any good.
Yeah.
Look, everybody wants to meet their person organically. Nobody
Yeah.
wants the story we met on Bumble. I mean, but look, I have a lot of friends that have met their guys on social media, but again, or on apps. Again, it's whatever the feeling it brings up in you. Go with if it expands you, fine, no judgment. If it makes you
Mm-hmm.
feel angry, it's not gonna
Mm-hmm.
be a
Yeah.
positive experience.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And
it's interesting.
um I also think like key things that I feel like I would bring into a relationship is like I'm not going to punish you for what past people have done to me, and you're not going to punish
It's
me
so
for what
important.
past people have done to you.
It's so
We're
important.
2 new people in a new relationship, and I think that I always feel like instead of focusing on problems or issues from the past, like have a great view going forward. Like this is going to be beautiful. This is going to be lovely and it's going to be amazing. And focus on like the togetherness of you together and like what's just so awesome. Like, and try not to look to the past a lot, but just promise each other, I'm not going to make you pay for that, what that person did to me. I'm not going to make you pay. Um,
That's so true. And that time alone it is so important. I know I started repeating to myself, don't bring the past relationship into this future situation. Don't, yeah, bring his sins onto this person. And you can tell, it when you're first out of a relationship, there's usually bitterness because people feel hurt. And I will say when I'm on the dating apps, if a guy ever says in his profile, like, don't be this way, you can't be this way, I'm like, anytime there's negative like disclaimers
mhm,
on there, I'm like,
mhm,
oh God, you're so not healed from whoever you just dated because you're still leading with negative. And so, yeah,
yeah.
you're out, you're out.
Mhm,
Um, and it also speaks to what you're saying, which, lead with the positive and, that it's a new person. But that
mhm,
takes, I mean, Sarah, that takes intentionality, that takes work because if you're bringing your ex-spouse or your ex-boyfriend into this new relationship and painting a new picture with the paint from that, you're giving that other person so much power. Like, why would you do that?
yeah.
And now you're going to criticize or make an excuse why you're paranoid or why you're this.
Mhm,
Like, you've got to work on
mhm,
yourself or you've
yeah,
reconstructed your own self-confidence and you trust your barometer. You've grown in who you are, your own value, so that you attract somebody that's at a higher
yeah,
caliber than whatever didn't work for you. So it
yeah,
takes work, but I
yeah,
100% agree with you. That's a big one.
yeah. And I just I don't know. I think I'm a cool chick, but whatever. But of course, we all have to
You're
have that
the
confidence.
coolest
But
chick.
like, but it's like, I think like, why am I not being asked out? I like don't understand. And I'm like, okay, what is going on? I don't know, you know, it's frustrating sometimes because I'm like sitting here and I'm kind of shy. I am. Like I'm kind of shy. I don't know, but it's like I'm just not that way. Like I'm not gonna, I don't know, I'm just not that bold kind of woman. Even though once I'm in a relationship behind closed doors, it's like, okay, well, maybe, there you're gonna see a different side, of course, but in a good way, but it's not like, I'm gonna be like, I'm shy at first. And I don't know if that's something maybe I need to work on, or maybe that's what I need to be, because then the right man will come and like, I almost think like grab my hand and say, okay, we're going here. And I'll be like,
I know.
okay, let's go.
Girl, we all want the guy to ride up on the white horse and just be like, "I got you. I got." Those are the 3 favorite words. It's not "I love you," it's I got you." Um,
Yeah.
I would say it's both. I would say, Sarah, that, I don't like making the first move either, but I typically do, because I think a lot of men are very intimidated, especially because look, when you're successful and you've up-leveled yourself, you're carrying a new frequency than you used to. So your dating pool is smaller. This is where I am too, because I've gone through the same thing where I'm
Mhm.
like I didn't have a date for, I mean, you could have dated a bunch of randoms. Let's be honest. Like you could date people that weren't at the caliber that you want, but you want a certain caliber. So I mean, I would go like a year. I mean, it was just like I don't have the interest, but if there is someone that you're attracted to that you want to come talk to you, and there is an energetic shift in your body where there's like there's subtle things that you can do, so it's practicing a little bit more, like opening your stance a little bit towards them, doing a little, energetic, like just like a little glance, there are
Mhm.
things like that where you're not shutting yourself down. And if you're sitting in the room, hunched over,
Yeah.
and all of those body language things are important. And men do need, like, I'll tell you, men are I think they're very intimidated. I do. And I think that you have a frequency about you. Like I think too, I mean, to be a little woo, it's almost like when your frequency and your energy gets a lot higher, it's almost like you become invisible to men that don't. It's like that's what I was kind of shown, because I was really upset about this about a year ago. Because I'm like, I used to have men all over me like, what is happening? Of course, I'm older, but
Mhm.
I still think I've got it going on.
Yeah,
And
you do.
what came to me when I was praying and through one of my spiritual teachers is because I said, "I literally feel invisible." And she said, "Well, your guides are saying that you actually do become invisible to people when your frequency is that you've worked on it this hard. Like, it's almost
Uh-huh.
like they don't even see you because it's not
Mhm.
even on their radar." It's like, Abraham Hicks talks about it, like when you walk into a room and you have a frequency, it's like there are, like, 100 light bulbs representing each person, and your
Mhm.
light bulb is lit at a certain level. And
Mhm.
maybe there are 2 more that are lit by a certain level, but those are the ones that need to find each other. But the rest of them, you're
Mhm.
not gonna access because you're not at the same frequency of light. And so I'm always
Yeah.
gonna drop some woo in here. So the good news is, yes,
Mhm.
yes, be open with your body language and your energy, but also, yes, the right person for you that's gonna love that about you and be a match is gonna be attracted to that sweet, like, but it's also like demure, like you've got this like sweet energy about you that's like it's very innocent, so I can see that in you being a little shy, but it's a very attractive energy to someone that's gonna be your match. They're gonna think
Mhm.
it's the sweetest thing.
Mm. Thank
It
you. Yeah.
is, you do.
Oh, I'm getting excited. Yeah, and it's funny
It only
because
takes
at the
one
same
person.
time,
It's like one person.
huh?
It only takes one person, right? One little light bulb.
Yeah.
It's just one. Okay, go ahead.
Mhm. No, yeah. Like, and I'm kind of an adventurous person too, but like I'm kind of big on the time thing, which can be hard
What
because
time?
that's my love language, time, and like
Yeah. Yep.
doing um like I'm like, oh, let's go do a road trip, get in the car and do a road trip this weekend, or let's go do this, or I don't know. But I'm a kind of a time person, which can be hard for
Well,
somebody that's really
you have a lot
busy.
of freedom. Yeah, I mean, I know you work your butt off, but you have a lot of freedom not having kids. So have
Mhm.
you run across that with have you dated guys with kids?
Uh, at some points.
Is that ever an
Yeah.
issue? Because that's for me, like if I date someone without kids or someone
Yeah,
who's
it kind of
it's
was,
like
I guess. Yeah.
can be frustrating. Because you
Yeah.
can pick up and go, right? Where someone like me, like,
Mhm.
it takes a lot of planning, and so you would need someone that has that same freedom.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. And that's why I tend to find that like yeah, I kind of feel like it's younger guys for me, which is kind of funny. Like
Yeah, me
we're
too.
talking like 10. 10 to 13, 14 years is
Yeah.
like the average. I don't think I want to go beyond 15, but you, like I talk to you and you're like, no, I can't. It's
Girl,
interesting because I have a, yeah.
it's energy. Go ahead.
No, I have a family member who they have like the happiest marriage and they have a pretty big age gap and their like marriage is off the charts, wonderful. And I think it's definitely over 10 years plus. So, and I was always like, oh, that's kind of weird. But I'm like, no, they're like totally in love. He's like crazy about her, that she's crazy about him, you know. So it can work, you know, just like the
What's happening is
opposite, older
a
men
lot.
with younger women. It's like, why not do the other way, you know? But
Really, why has that been so accepted? Like nobody blinks if someone's 20 years younger. Like nobody blinks, but if a woman, I know because I dated
mhm,
someone that was 20 years younger, and I mean, it was a thing, but eventually it kind of blurred. Where it gets hard, and you and I have talked about this privately, where it gets a little tricky is around just around life experience. Once you get past like 10, 15 years, you're literally raised in different generations,
mhm,
and
mhm,
you don't there's a where I would get frustrated is just discussing like songs and movies that were out, and so there's a disconnect. But I
mhm,
believe in soul contracts, and very often what's happening is, a lot of those guys are operating at they're just coming in and operating at a really high frequency, and you take care of yourself. I think that's one of the things too is like I'll see a guy, and no offense to any of the men, but I'll see guys my age sometimes, and I'm like, you look like you're like 15 or 20 years older than me. I can't. But again, there are
yeah,
also a lot of guys that are dating girls in their 20s, and that's not my guy.
yeah,
But
mhm,
um, I don't like men. I don't know. If a man has taken care of himself, I'm not against dating in my age, which is I've passed 50. But typically I'm dating at a minimum 3, if not 10 years younger. Just because the attraction's there, they don't realize that I'm older, and I'm not going to tell them until they look at my driver's license. But I like to activate myself at a much younger age. And it's not that I'm saying you can't. Like if I met someone that took really good care of himself and he was 5 years older, like and the energy was there
mhm,
and he could be in his masculine. I mean, I'm like would be all for it. But I'm
yeah,
with you. Like it's weird. It's like almost like men get I've experienced a lot of guys. It's like they get set in their ways, and it's like they haven't had growth. And that's just not
mhm,
everybody. Because I have met right now. There's like 3 guys I kind of, and it literally this just happened in the past 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago, I would have told you I'm like dating nobody. In the past 2 weeks, I've like gone on 3 dates, but I have to be excited around you, and I have to know that you're doing something to like elevate your life and to change something. Like what
yeah,
has changed in you? Are you evolving? And I think that's the key. I think that's what you get by dating younger men, besides being active and also being fit and all that, is that
mhm,
there there's that evolution. Like I've got to have someone who's working on themselves and has created change, like
yeah,
growth, spiritual growth specifically for me.
yeah.
So no,
I'm
I support
mhm,
the age gap relationship. I think it can be amazing. And like we mentioned Taylor Love, he has a whole did you see his he has a whole post on it where he actually makes the point that one of the reasons that makes them so great is that the love that's there, like they don't give a crap what anyone else thinks, because everyone has something to say, no matter, like we said in the beginning, who
yeah,
you are, what you're dating, how many times you've been divorced, if you're moving, whatever. But he said one of the great things about age gap when it works and there's that synergy is that it's based on not giving a flying F about what anybody thinks. And it's almost
mhm,
like that is a bond that the people share because they're like, screw the rules. Let's do this. I
yeah,
mean, yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I think
yeah.
Madonna's boyfriend is like Cher. I think their boyfriend, I'm not kidding. They're like
Yes.
40,
Yeah,
40
I
years
know.
younger.
Yeah, yes. And I kind of have this thing, this might sound weird, but I'm just gonna say it. I just had a thought. It's kind of like how I approach my faith and like my relationship with Jesus. Like some people are like, oh, you're a Christian, you can't go to yoga. And I'm like, no, I'm going to yoga. I don't care what you think. Like I kind of think like I know that my relationship is solid and strong, so it doesn't matter. And I
Yes.
kind of think that's how you want to approach like the person you want your life with. Like I know how I feel about them. Nothing's gonna shatter that. And you can judge it all you want from the outside, but like we as a core know how we are, and
Totally.
everything we do, judgments could fly in, but we're
Well,
like, who cares what you think?
yeah, I mean, everyone has something to say about whatever. And by the way, when people are judging, they're only projecting the way they feel about their own life, 100%. People that are at
Hmm.
peace with their life are not judgmental. But look, maybe the gap is there's always going to be something. Maybe the gap is how many times someone's been married, how many kids someone has, and the other one. Maybe it's religion. Maybe it's where you were raised. I mean, there's always going to be. I mean, you're not going to marry your twin. So if you're feeling love and safety and it works for you, I mean, it's you just want to be loved. I mean, I'm like all for it, and I think that I don't know. I think it's. I don't think there are any rules, but look, if you had asked me 20 years ago, I would probably said something totally different. Now that I've gone through, I don't pass judgment on whatever people want to do. I'm like, why do people judge? Why do we need to judge? Then we think that God does not, when we cross over, no one's standing there with some tally of how many times you were married or divorced or who you moved in with or how many sexual partners. It's not, you get a life review. You get to see how you impacted other people and what you did in the world. And, you go into bliss and love, but all this judgment and that's another podcast, but I would want people to give themselves more grace because again, I look at energetic fields, like we're taught to have all the shame and guilt in the church. And that I could go on about that for 10 hours, but because I was raised that way. But at the end of the day, the God that I know now, like really is all about love, and none of that stuff matters because it's all, by the way, all those constructs, marriage and divorce and all that's constructed by humans. That's the government's involved with all that. But you are here to love and be loved and to grow and to live in your purpose. Maybe your purpose is, I mean, it just looks different for everybody. But if you can, when you do find, when your match comes in and you find that person that is your match for you and that soul contract unites, like I do think then when it's the right person, yes, you will both know it. You literally will say, there you are. Like you will feel like you already know them.
Yeah.
Because your soul already does when it's a true like soul contract, soulmate. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really woo about it. But in the
Um,
meantime, have as much fun as you can because then once you're done, you're like, that's it.
yeah.
No
Yeah.
more playing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I have it's just, I don't know. I'm kind of, I literally am just like, okay. I'm like, let's make this happen. Let's go forward. Like, when is this happening for me? But anyways, that's another story. But
Oh, for sure.
I think
It's hard
that
not to know. It's hard not to know because there's safety and predictability and not knowing. I mean, I mean, I'm with you. It's so, and I don't honestly, who knows, but I don't feel like any of the guys I just met are like my person. But we're all here to teach each other something. But it's hard not to know because I think deep down there's a fear. I know for me, there's a fear of, am I going to be doing this alone for the rest of my life? Like, all the factors, medical, financial, like, all those things that make me scared. But I feel like when you are wired to desire a relationship, which I would say 90 to 99% of people are, like that desire is there for a reason. But at the same time, I also remind myself that my person, like this is it. He's got to be ready for me.
yeah.
And so maybe his wife passed away a year ago. Maybe he's going through, who knows, diagnosis. Maybe his dad, is sick. I mean, you don't know. And so I think when you're really prayerful about it and you do rely on faith, it's just constantly going back to the trust. And they talk about attachment to outcome. Like you are responsible for the what and the why that you want something. And that's in your prayer. But God, the universe, whatever you lean on is responsible for the when and the how. So it's like giving that back to God is what I'm constantly doing. It's like, okay, I know what, I'm really clear, but I've got to let go of the when and the how. I'll be active in the meantime, doing what I can to meet people and to keep my field open, keep all the windows open. Like you can come in, but we want that divine match to be ready and to be energetically and spiritually and emotionally and all the things and mentally at a place where they're ready to fulfill that. We don't want still wounded, still mad at their ex, and we want them healed. And if that means we wait another 6 months or a year or 2 years, I'm like, then it's worth it. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like, and I keep losing my train of thought. Sorry. I was thinking about
But the
something.
person coming at the right time.
Yeah. Oh, I know. So I pray a lot. I always say a prayer of like, please prepare me for them and prepare me for them and prepare this person for me. It's kind of like, I do that prayer a lot.
Yeah.
And I can for sure say, and I think I talked to this on the first podcast, like I know when there were times of like, no, this is not the time for me to be in a relationship. And like I knew that, especially when I was working full time with my doctorate.
Yep.
But I really like seriously right now I'm at a point where I'm like, okay, I'm like, I just feel like it will happen soon. I think it will, just because there's no question about it. Like there's nothing like stirring that I have to work on that would take attention away. It's like I still have everything lined up with me, but you know what I mean? It's just time for me.
I'll agree with you on that.
Right.
Yeah. I will agree with you. You know what
and
I
I
do
think
too that you can do if you're woo at all? You can go and talk to their higher self. Like what I do is I'll pray and I'll picture myself kind of going up like spiritually, and I'll picture whoever this is, my person, and I'll ask them to kind of meet me. Like you can just picture it like being in heaven. And I'll just be like, I want to talk to you like your higher self, because we all have like an astral body. And I'll envision myself and I'll just go in and just let them know like I'm ready, and I'll just say the things that I want to say and go ahead and have like communication with them. And I know that sounds out there, but I have a lot of friends that do this. And
mhm,
it's almost like you already know them. And so that
mhm,
pathway and the more that connection is already there, I'll be like, I can feel you. I know you're close. Like I can feel you. And I know when I meet you, like I'm going to know.
mhm,
So anyway, I just wanted to drop that in there as an exercise if anybody wants to try it, just in
yeah,
prayer, and picture yourself kind of going up into heaven, and just picture some version of them and just have a conversation,
yeah,
energetically or spiritually. And yeah, let them know that you're already,
yeah.
you can already feel them. But I feel you. I feel like yours is right around the corner. We're getting into spring and summer, and all the little butterflies come out and everyone comes out of hibernation. They say mating season, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I
I
feel it for you.
yeah, I almost picture too, you're gonna laugh this. I guess you could call this woo. I never thought about it before. Or you could call it faith based, but I think of like this is gonna sound strange, like people up in heaven, like, no, 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 that's not the one for her. No, no,
Right, yeah.
no. Okay, yeah, this one's okay. I don't know. Just picture
Like
it
what,
being
like
like
ancestors, like your
like
grandma
a
or your
bunch of
dad?
yeah, so
Totally.
funny.
Wouldn't you? If you were on the other side? I mean, of course. But at the same time, look, we call people in. I'm very big on soul contracts again. And when we get in relationship, there is always a reason. And whether it's to heal something or to bring something forward that's unhealed, or whether it's for forever. So, each
Yeah,
relationship is here to be a mirror.
yeah.
But I agree. Yes, I love that. Oh, for sure. For sure. There is preference. And yeah, there's often that they see us repeating the same patterns. They will try to come in and give us guidance, like
Hmm.
yeah, send us certain symbols and signs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've had like a bird, like it's happened to me several times when something I need to pay attention to. And some of it had to do with this one guy that was so not good for me. And this one bird, like, it's only happened 3 times, and it was in instances. And I know that like ancestors and God were involved,
Hmm.
because birds are actually messengers. He literally just would come to my window right here and he would
Uh-huh.
just start pecking.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like it happened. I was trying to get back with this guy years ago, the one that I was referring to earlier. And I was considering getting back with him again. And I swear it was a brown thrasher. I live in Georgia. This brown thrasher, there's a big wind in the back of my house. He came, and I mean, I know I'm sure my grandmother was involved, do, 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 do. Like he literally sat on the windowsill and just hammered at my
Oh
window.
wow.
And so yes, and yes,
Hmm.
because we get to choose
That
how long we stay in the quote unquote wrong or the pattern that isn't good for us. And
yeah.
your person's not going to come in if you're in a pattern that isn't serving you, because you're agreeing to something that is not for your highest good. But what you
Hmm.
just said, Sarah, is that you've cleared, like you're ready, and you've made it very clear to God and the universe that
Hmm. Hmm.
the
It's
space is
funny,
open.
yeah. It's funny you talked about birds because I actually saw in December I saw a cardinal on a tree. I was just kind of laying and I had like I normally it's funny because I normally don't open the blinds. And this little red cardinal went and was just sitting in a tree and kind of hopping around, and it was really cute. And I told somebody and they're like, you know what that means, right? And I was like, what? And they're like, cardinals like love. And I was like, oh, okay. And it's so funny because in my mom, this is just a sign. Everybody's like, whoa, she brought she got me cardinal pajamas for Christmas with cardinal socks. And everybody's like,
That is so
Okay,
cute.
she's
Did
trying
she
to
know about the
really,
cardinal? Did you tell her about it, or was it a
yeah,
coincidence? Oh, so
it was
she
just
knew.
a
I love that.
coincidence. It was just a coincidence.
Yeah.
So I was just
Cardinals
like,
are, yeah.
whoa. And they're like, oh, it has to come in threes. And I was like, I don't know if that's true, but
I love that.
um so it's just kind of a funny story.
Yeah.
But
But
yeah,
it's
I
great.
think that there's a lot of information out there too right now to maybe I'm really careful to listen to stuff that steers you away from love too. I feel like there's stuff out there on social media and you have to be careful who you listen to or who you go to for advice or what you're
Spiritual.
listening to because I feel like you don't want to listen to the wrong information or get led by somebody who maybe has a negative look on love and it can be precious, it's a gift and it's like it could be divine and so I think we just have to be careful too with what we're listening to out there and be aware and kind of really think like when you're listening to something like and I think that maybe the same person could say something amazing you agree with but then you hear something else and you're like I don't really agree with that. And I
Mhm.
think that that's part of taking it upon ourselves too, is just, going through life and making those choices and decisions.
Well, and that's such a good point because I think it's very underestimated, and people are very unaware of how much they give into scrolling through things that are negative. Because of course, we know that
Mhm.
once you get on it, the algorithm picks up, and you're going to get a lot more of it. And that is exactly how your life is because you energetically. I mean, the Bible talks all about faith, and it's all about
Mhm.
what the beliefs that you're carrying around, and you're going to attract what you believe to be true. They say you will
Mhm.
attract what you
Mhm.
think deep down that you
Mhm.
deserve if you're recreating patterns, but uh, this is the first thing I always work on with clients when I hear them talk negatively, not only about themselves, and then about especially if
Mhm.
you're single, if you talk about dating in a really negative way. And as women, we love to have the little hen party where you get together and then everyone start talking about and whether you're married or not, and we expand how much oh my god men suck and how about this and next time you find yourself in a situation where all the women have gathered or whoever you're with
Yeah.
and the negative narrative is being expanded, you're going to be shocked at how much you do that. Not no accusations, but when you realize that what's happening then is you are expanding that belief in your body,
Mhm.
and you are walking around with that magnetism, and so that belief system, that faith set is what your magnet is, and your
Yeah.
heart has a magnetism that's 100 times more powerful than your brain.
Mhm.
So when your heart feels a certain way, you're going to attract people that prove that right. The universe is aligned to prove you right. So watch what you're listening to and watch how you're talking about it. I will never say there are no good men. Da, 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 there are, every men suck. Look, maybe that guy sucked, but look, I learned the lesson. I don't want that. I tell everybody, look, this is not a static, like this isn't staying the same. The dating
Mhm.
population changes literally every second. Like someone's spouse passes away, someone has a breakup, somebody moved into town, somebody's finally ready to date. Like it's a moving plasmic field
Yeah.
of readiness. And just because one person is bad or the 20 women you just sat with at a table can talk about their worst dating stories and now you walk out of there hating men,
Mhm.
be really aware of that. And instead, so what I do is I will, when I was really actively looking, look at all the things, and Abraham Hicks teaches this a lot, is look at all the things that you've loved about all the guys that you've dated. What was the quality that you loved about that person? And then you expand that. And we all want to make our ideal guy by taking this part of him and this part of them and this part of them, but energetically,
Mhm.
instead of speaking negatively about them, expand like, okay, they weren't for me, maybe they lied in the end or whatever, but I really loved how much we would laugh like when we would do this, or
Mhm.
I actually really loved
Mhm.
his family, or okay, really whatever it is that you loved about him. And
Mhm.
I would like even make a list about what you loved about each person, because again, what's happening then is you're putting that value system in your field of energy, in your magnetic pull. And the more instead of looking at the negative, which is going to create the same thing in a negative polarity, if you're instead focusing on what you loved, you are literally going to draw that perfect guy for you that
Mhm.
has those characters,
Mhm.
whatever those, you know what I'm saying, those elements to their
Yeah.
character, and it magnetizes that. So yes, people don't realize how much they speak negatively and how much they agree to those conversations, especially women.
Yeah,
So
just listening to
the
them.
point is remove yourself
Yes.
or bring up something positive or
Mhm.
walk away.
Mhm. And yeah, yeah. And I think that just
And how much you're
going,
commenting like that too in the comments. I'm
yeah.
sorry. Because I know what you say. Like the other day I saw something and it was so negative and I'm like, and then the comments blew up. And I think it was around men not leading.
Okay.
And everybody was bitching. It was, and I'm just,
Mhm.
and I literally immediately like put it off
Yeah.
my feed because I'm like, if the algorithm knows I am giving this energy, it's gonna give me more, and I don't wanna live there because then those
Yeah.
you're just gonna keep attracting that kind of person. Okay, sorry, I
Yeah.
have a lot to say about that, but
No, yeah. And
I
it's
agree with you.
interesting because, I talk a lot about like, oh, I need the masculine man. I want him to lead. It's not like but there's also something that I really appreciate, which is gentle masculinity.
For sure.
And I think that, I don't know, I think a lot about like Yoko Ono and John Lennon. I think that they had a very kind of a gentle relationship with love and like a peace and like gentle masculinity of John Lennon probably in that
Mhm.
relationship.
Yeah.
And, or like a guy has to be nice to animals or love animals, or I'm going to be like, there's something wrong with you. That was embedded in me probably from my grandmother, but,
Yeah. Very true.
um,
Very true.
so, and, especially with me having a tiny little dog, it's like, you have to, she's so little, you have to be a little respectful of her. Although it's funny,
Well, yeah, well, she's a dating filter for you. I know I've got 2 dogs, and I know I've got a few things that I'm like, if you like this and don't like that, like, it's part of my, but you're right. Yeah, they've
yeah.
gotta be nice to dogs, and
Hmm.
you can tell really, really quickly. And the dogs pick up on the energy. Y'all know this. Anyone that has animals, the dogs will tell you, like, how they
Yeah.
react to this person, if they like them or not. Yeah,
Hmm.
I mean,
Hmm.
I've had it happen on both sides of that, where my dog actually has gotten scared and, like, left the room versus, you can
Oh, yeah.
immediately tell.
Hmm. Hmm. Um, yeah. I don't like men bashing, like what we talked about. Do not like that at all. Um, and like I said, like I men, I feel like one thing that I feel like is important is appreciating them and letting them know you appreciate them. But I think it's also just, I don't know, it's like the words I'm looking for to describe is it's just when you get in your day to day with somebody. But I think it's also like, when you're with somebody new too, you're exploring with them, you're learning things new. There's going to be new things you're going to learn about each other that maybe you've never seen in somebody before. Don't think that's weird. I mean, it's just that person, and maybe weird is the wrong word, or just different. Um but I think that overall with dating, I think the hardest part to me is probably the initial part, getting
Mhm.
over that fear, that hump. And I guess behind that, would you say, is
Being vulnerable,
probably rejection.
for
And it's
sure.
like, who cares? Like, we live, we might not have tomorrow. Like I always say, like, just, you have to kind of take a chance. Um,
Well, it's being
and
vulnerable,
see what
and it's
happens.
scary because the
Hmm.
chances that you're gonna get hurt. And, yeah, I mean, I have to have a deep guy that's gonna be I'm the same, like, you want gentleness, I've got a trauma
Yeah.
history, so, like, I get really triggered if it's yes, everyone has their comfort zone with that,
Hmm.
but, um, I date much differently than I used to be. I'm much more
Yeah.
intentional about it, and it's really about depth. Yes, I love a hot man, I love for a man to take care of himself. I do have a type, but, I've gotta be able to have a really deep conversation. And one of the other things that I've just recently been like, I need a guy to ask me questions. Like, I've too many times I feel like I've been on dates and I'm like, I we just because I'm, probably like you, like I'm a trained counselor and I talk for a living and I ask questions. And so I that's what I do naturally. But like I had a date 2
Yeah.
weeks ago and I got home and I was like, oh my God, he did not ask me like one question about myself because I kept
Uh-huh.
asking questions.
Yeah.
But I did have a guy give me feedback one time when I brought that up, and he said, "Karin, you know that you're so good at that." That he said, "Y- Men don't realize that they haven't asked you anything because they love talking about themselves, and you're asking them questions. So maybe if you just lean back, which is feminine, and let them realize that they haven't asked you anything." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Okay, well played. You're right. I have a role in that too." But yeah, yep. all the above. Dating, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, I wanna be explored, but I do wanna be explored, and that's the thing. That's that piece with the women wanna be cherished and the men wanna be needed. So we wanna be explored, we wanna be cherished, we wanna feel like that you just think we're amazing. Men,
Mhm.
like you said, want to be seen, they wanna be needed in a way that they're seen, and, I think so many of us learned from our moms to nitpick and, um, criticize. I know I used to be that way really badly, and because I learned it from my mom, like, that's just
Mhm.
how my parents talked. And then
Yeah.
it took me years to realize, like, I would hear myself on video and I'm like, "Oh my god," like, I didn't realize that I'm like, "That sounds oh my god," like, I don't sound very easy to live with
Really.
because that's my
Uh,
stuff. And instead, like you said, really balancing that with showing appreciation, even if it wasn't done 100% right. Because
mhm.
men, that whole, like, gratitude, is so huge and letting them be seen and know that what they did was enough,
Mhm.
goes a very, very long way. So women that are in relationships, y'all thank your man for something he did today, and, yeah,
Yeah.
see how things shift. Tell him
Yeah.
that you really like the way he did it, and they say that men love to hear that you like the way they take care of you or that you like the things they did for you and that you
Mhm.
recognize that.
Mhm. Mhm. Love that. Um, and how do I feel like too in this day and age, people date for years, a long time before they move into that thinking of marriage or something. And you think back with our grandparents, it's like they knew each other like 6 weeks and got
I
engaged and were
know,
married within like 2 or 3 months. And it's like,
totally.
and it's interesting because like how you mentioned Taylor Love, he said that guys
Yeah,
know right when they meet a woman if she's in that or not. So
yeah,
I feel like why not move quicker? Maybe that's just my situation right now. But I'm like, I'm just wondering if that would save, and being equally yoked is I know that's so, but I believe in that too.
yeah,
But it would I feel like it would create a sense of like a deeper appreciation for each other and like more of a sense of security and safety within the relationship when you do commit quicker or like I know I want to be with you, I don't want to see you with anybody else, like and that's part of it. It doesn't have to be like a crazy jealousy thing, but it's like I know that I like you and I don't want to even have the thought of thinking of you like talking to somebody else. Like I want you to myself, I want you
yeah.
to me, you know and so you think about that context of stuff. And I don't know, do you think people dating multiple people right now, and I know a lot of people do it, we all do it,
Yeah.
like, you know, I'm not, which I know I'm kind of weird because I'm just not doing anything right now. But do you think that's I don't know, I feel guilty when I just can't do that.
I can
I
only do it for a little bit of time. Now, obviously, I'm not talking about being sexual with more than one person, but you look, whatever people wanna do is up to them. I think that
mhm,
I don't think there's any rule book on it. I think that, they say men want freedom and women want, commitment. I think as long as the men feel like they still have their freedom, and the women, that's part of the wanting to be cherished. I also think that when it's your person, like your divine the person that you're supposed to be in divine union with, that your soul will recognize that that will be a very natural thing, that nobody
yeah.
is going to have to convince anybody to unite. It will just feel like, of course, we're not seeing other people, right?
Mhm.
So, yeah, I know because I'm out there too. Like the guy, it's a little bit of an epidemic of dating around, but at the same time, I'm like, well, then you're just not going to be my person, and
Mhm.
you know, I'll do it until it makes me feel bad. Like if I know, like right now there's a guy and I know he's probably seeing other people and it's fine. Like I see him like every few months, but it's like, okay, like I know what I'm getting into. Like
Yeah.
we just go to dinner and I enjoy
Mhm.
his company
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
I'm learning a lot from him and I enjoy so it's like until that makes me feel bad, like I in my head I thought, well, what if I ever seen that on a date? Like that's gonna be weird. Like when that kind of thing happens, and I'm probably gonna retract and be like, okay,
Yeah.
like I can't, this is too weird. Um, I think the answer is you trust your intuition, and I really think that it's gonna feel like the next natural move when it is your divine. not 100% of the time, but I would say 95%, it's going to feel natural that you're committing because they're going to be at a place where they're done looking for the new shiny object. See, I think that's part of kind of this thing that's
Yeah.
happened is the new shiny object, and men can date younger and hotter. And I mean, it's just, and especially if you're on dating apps, you know, I think it's become very, very easy because access is very different than it was when our grandparents were young, where they only had people in their community. You
Yeah.
know, you had like 20 people to choose from, and everyone married when they were 17, 18, 19 years old, and everyone just stayed, right? Like that's
Yeah.
now you have access to the international, to anybody. You can
Yeah.
plug a dating app into every city. But again, even though I think a lot of people get drawn, a lot of men I know, because I meet them all the time. Um, I keep telling myself, instead of getting frustrated, just know that this means that they're not my person. Like, if
Hmm.
you're doing that and that sucks because I think we could do something, but if that's what you're into, then thank you for showing me, and then you're not my person.
Yeah.
So, and if people wanna date multiple people and it works, like, whatever is making you happy and you feel in
Yeah.
alignment, but if it's causing fights and making you feel bad, then that's not for you,
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you know, just recently and been like almost, I don't know, it was like over 2 years since I even dated or been with anybody. And then I saw somebody kind of a little bit between Christmas and New Year's this last year, but I definitely knew right away this is not a person for me. And I ended it pretty abruptly, but that's
Mhm.
okay. But it was like, wow. And then I thought, I don't know, I guess I have this um thing where it's like I feel like and maybe this is wrong, but I like to feel like I'm adored. Like I feel like I want the guy to kind of like adore me in a way.
Well, that's
But
the
what I
cherish piece, 100%.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so hopefully, I don't
Me
know, that's
too,
just
girl.
something I like. Yeah. I think we all want that. And
100%. Yeah, and the guy that's for you is gonna have that value too. He's gonna love that part.
mhm. Mhm.
Versus
And
what? Versus what's the opposite of that? Like, not being seen, not being cherished, not
critical
being
all the time
yeah,
maybe.
yeah,
Mhm. Just
not for
like
you.
put downs or critical.
No.
Yeah.
That's an
Mhm.
unhealed person, and, yeah, not for you, and I'm with you on that, and I've been equally as frustrated. I've dated the guy that went into his feminine. What I realized was happening was I was adoring him, and I wasn't being adored. I literally was like, "Oh my god,
Mhm.
we're all," like, he always wanted, I don't know, the jury's out on some things with this guy, but I was like, why," like, when I walk in a room, like, my person's gonna be like, "Babe, you look hot," like, that's just gonna be natural for them. It's not gonna be, "Let me look at your outfit," or it was anyway, that was a weird situation, but I'm with you on that, and so the
Yeah.
good thing is dating that guy, when I realized that's what was happening, I was like, "I gotta refine what I wanted." So I'm like, "This is not gonna work for me," and I know now I'm very intentional about settling down with a guy that has that characteristic because I'm with you. Like, I want to be like, "Oh my god, I want you to think that I'm like the best thing in all areas and that you're
Yeah.
just like, 'Oh my god, this is amazing.'" And it's not all
Mhm.
about you, equally yoked, but it's important.
Yeah.
And you can tell pretty quickly
Yeah.
if they compliment you and if they just want to be seen.
Mhm. Yeah, I would say like intention, adoration,
Yeah.
you know, maybe what I find important too is like taking care of yourselves, like your body, mind. I think when you have both a good, healthy mindset with body, mind, and spirit and all that, when you have similarities in that, I think that's really awesome and strong.
Yeah,
Um,
100%.
and it's like I think like, oh, like, I'm okay with cooking for a guy. Like I'll cook, do the cooking, I don't mind cleaning, doing certain like what you would call, you know,
Domestic. Yeah.
domestic, yes.
Mhm.
Because I think men like to feel taken care of too, in a way they
Yeah.
want to feel taken care of, but at the same time, we need them to also take care of us and make us feel safe. And so I think that, and I think that there's a safety net too with a guy where he feels like, he can come home at night and relax and like you're going to cook a meal or hand him a beer, or have a glass of wine and not lay on him when he comes home. I'm
Yeah.
learning that one of the biggest things is like a space thing with guys. I think like, for instance, my mom always said that, like, men sometimes just have to go in their man cave. And my
Yeah.
mom would say this. And it's like
Mm.
my dad would take off hunting for 3 days, or fishing. And like, men literally have their man caves, or they go down and watch sports or something. But like, as women, sometimes I think it's like, don't take that personal,
Well,
because if you let them do that, then they're going to come back all the better. And so I think that we don't want to demasculize our men by like not letting them go, take care of that, I guess you could say.
Mhm. Yeah, I
But
would agree.
I don't know. So there's so many different aspects to relationships and dating, and I know we could just go on and on and on.
On and on and on. Yeah.
But I think it's exciting to talk about. It's fun. And I think that the beginning stages of love and the butterflies it's fun, it's exciting. And when you have an opportunity for that, because sometimes you can go a long time and not feel it, and you're like, is this even,
Totally.
or you get to a point where you're like, this is very personal, where it's like, do I still know how to
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
But it's like,
Yeah.
okay,
I know.
well, you do, you're gonna be fine,
Yeah.
and yeah, so like, yeah. And I don't
Yeah.
know, I've
I've
had
been there. Yes, I know exactly what you mean. And it's true, but it is like riding a bike. You remember that you're like, God, am I even,
yeah.
how does that even work? What are people doing now? Are people shaving or not shaving? Like, what's happening? What are we doing? Yeah. All the things, Yeah. Yep. It's,
Yeah.
But no, you're not
And
alone if you're out there, and hopefully everyone's gotten something from all the things that we shared today. We're pretty comprehensive. Hopefully
yeah,
we enlighten some people, and as we unpacked a bunch of stuff.
yeah. And I just yeah, I think it's great. And I think I want somebody to we don't have to go to church every Sunday, but I want somebody to go to church with me. I want
Yeah.
somebody to sit down, read the Bible together, or do Bible study. I know that might sound, but that's important.
Yeah.
Just things.
It's a primary
Um,
value that it is important. If
yeah,
that's something that you want. Yes.
yeah,
100%.
yeah. Um, is there anything else you think we should talk about or share before
Well, no,
we?
I think we've talked about values, and I think that it's that to me, I've always go back to that. It's like, well, their value. Do they value the time? Do they value, religion, spirituality,
Mhm,
whatever it is? And it's, everyone's going to be different, but the value system is really the basis of what's going to make you compatible or not. Do you value having kids? Do you value spending time with family? Like all those
mhm,
core values, finances,
mhm.
and all that. And that's why communication is obviously so important, because if you get into, I mean, I counsel people for a living, and coach a lot of relationships when they're in their strife periods, and it's communication is so important, because people will tend to retreat or be anxious or pull away. But I think the biggest takeaway is to have those conversations about values,
Yeah,
and to just unpack, not, and the important thing to remember is that that's not when conflict is happening. Like, I'm always with clients, I'm like, have you talked about this? No, but we thought about it last night. I'm like, okay, bring this up at a time when you're both, like, when you're sitting there with your glass of wine, or when you're in bed cuddling, when it's a safe space, and bring it up in a really soft, graceful manner. Talk about that value system, instead of it only coming up when y'all get in the fight, and then it's, you're not doing it, you're not doing this, you're not doing, do it when you're in a safe space. And it's, for a lot of
mhm,
people, having a counselor, it's just having a negotiator between you is a very great investment, in having someone to help
yeah,
you have a safe conversation. It's just like having it's just a mediator, so that
yeah,
you both get heard, because people often just don't feel like they're being heard. And
mhm,
so yeah. Yeah, if you need support, get
mhm,
it. But
yeah,
look, that early stage of limerence, like, for all of us that are still single, I'm like, I still get to have that. Like, I can't wait, and when it happens, like,
mhm,
yes, we'll remember. I kinda forgot what it feels like, but I'm looking
yeah,
forward to butterflies again. I'm looking forward to not being able to eat, and then all of a sudden wanting to get in, like, really good shape, and then you, like, all of a sudden, like, the best sides of you come forward. I start playing piano again, you start, like, you just, like, you get all this energy,
yeah,
and, they say what's happening is actually you're remembering your own self-love, that's actually what love is. When you fall in love, the other
uh-huh,
person is actually opening a window to your own soul, and reflecting back to you
yeah,
your own beauty, so you're actually also embedded in your own love for yourself.
mhm,
And
mhm,
so in
yeah.
the meantime, we can awaken that on our own while we're waiting as well.
I love that. And like my uncle from Maui reminded me, he's like, remember, you're the prize. Just as
100%.
much as they are, you are the prize. And remember that.
And
Like
we,
you're a
as women, yeah,
prize.
as women, we tend to think we often will chase. And yes, my friends and I say that to each other all the time when we forget and we start chasing. And then it's like, you,
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
can make a move, but you got to lean back
Yeah.
because what
Yeah.
happens then is that flips the dynamic to where they're the prize. You got
Yeah.
to lean back and let that energetic flow come towards you. I agree.
Yeah.
Until your uncle is a wise man, because you are.
And and I know we're kind of, but something I was just going to say that I can get kind of emotional about. I'm not really feeling emotional about right now, but I've gotten emotional talking about it, is like, what if like I fall in love with this guy and he really wants to be with me, and he wants to really have children, and I kind of get scared because I'm now in my 40s, and I'm like, like I said before, I can still technically have a baby, I guess, according to my doctors, but you never know until you're in it. But it's just like, I hate that pressure on myself that it's like, if I get with a guy, I have to say, well, if you want to have a baby, we better do it now. But that's just the honest truth
Yeah.
with me. Like, if you want it to have my DNA, and we're not going to go down a route of like adoption, or you do the whole surrogate, my egg your sperm thing, and you want me to carry the child, or you think like, it's like, we better do that like now. Like, and that's the problem with me that I ride with a lot, because it's like, I look at how time just kind of like flew by from 2019, and I'm like, whoa, I'm like, oh my gosh, it kind of upsets me sometimes, because I think like, oh, I want a little me running around, or things like that. And it is kind of a it's just something that I'm kind of dealing with, and it's and it's funny because what weighs on me most is disappointing a person who falls in love with me, and I don't want to do that. And I know that might sound weird, but that's what I feel.
I think it's you're hard on yourself. I wish you'd be gentler on yourself. Um, I don't think it's weird. I think it's very normal, and that is how I felt, and that's when I got married the second time, because the clock was ticking. I understand that, and it is a very real concern. I mean, I'm just going to
Hmm.
validate it for you, of course.
Hmm.
So the person that's right for you, that conversation will come up, and I know you're feeling it's like a sense of urgency, is what it is. And I hear you. I hear you loud and
Hmm.
clear. When it's the
Yeah.
right person, that conversation is going to happen naturally, and
Yeah.
the person you're meant to be with, what's supposed to happen is going to happen,
Yeah.
however that looks.
Yeah.
The person that
Yeah.
you're meant to be with is not going to be disappointed.
Hmm. Yeah. And yeah. And
I
I
promise.
thought, yeah. And I thought too at some point, it's like, oh, I could just do the whole thing where I do it on my own,
Yeah.
type thing. But then I thought, I don't think that would fulfill me. I don't think I could. And I commend people who've done that. Um, they decide to, and I think that's beautiful and amazing. But just knowing me, I want that man in my life. I want that presence. I want that partner. I want that husband to be with me and come home to my, you know, so, and do life with, and just adventures with, and be like best friends and lovers, and just have fun, like,
Mhm.
let's go enjoy life. I don't know. It's kind of how I look at it.
I love
But
that.
yeah.
I love it. Well,
And
he's out there. He's out there, and you never know. That's the thing about the how and the when. Like,
yeah.
you may find someone that has kids, and there's like a soul knowing there, because like you just already kind of had a soul connection with them. You didn't know they were
Hmm.
coming into your life, but it was part of your
Hmm.
path. And you may feel like they're your own kids like really quickly. And that may be, I mean, you never know
Yeah.
or you may decide, I mean, you just do not know what this is going to look like. So I would remind you and anyone else that's struggling with something like that, keep trusting. As long as you are returning to your faith and you are connecting and being intentional about connecting to something higher, it
Yeah.
it is not going to go wrong for you. Like, you will find the person you're meant to be with, and it is going to work out the way that it is meant
Hmm.
to. You're not going
Yeah.
to be punished. Nobody's withholding anything from you. That situation is getting prepared for you, and what you're going to call in and what's going to show up for you is going to be exactly
Yeah.
what was meant to.
Yeah.
So it's returning to trust,
Yeah.
coming, because nothing great was created with fear.
Hmm.
So I would
Yeah.
encourage you, when that fear comes up, because look, everybody has something. Like, I have 3 kids, so you could say it's like
Hmm.
it doesn't matter what you have. It's like I've gotten over it, but for a long time I carried, because I had many people tell me, "Oh, no one, you're pretty and all, but nobody's gonna date you because you have 3 kids. Nobody wants 3 kids." Like, and so I would carry this, and then I would meet guys that'd be like, "Oh God, like that's a lot." Now I'm so like I lead with it. I'm like, if you're not into that, then you were obviously not a match. My kids don't need another dad, and they're an extension of me. So look, no kids, no dogs, 12 kids. I mean, like
Yeah.
everyone's gonna have their constellation,
Mhm.
and the person that is meant for you will not be perfect, but you will perfectly figure out, because your soul will call them in, and it is
Mhm.
already done on a soul level.
Yeah.
It's already done.
Yeah.
I promise you.
And you're amazing.
Oh,
Just so
thank
you know, you're a rock star, and I just know you embody an amazing abundance of life. I can just sense that from you.
thank
And
you.
I feel like you bring abundance to people too with your presence. So
Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, so are you, and so is this conversation and your new podcast. I'm so proud of you, and I love that. This is so great at home with your dog. I love that. My dog, she'll creep up, but you can't see her. She comes on camera. She comes and sticks her nose on my lap. But I love that you can see him. So him or her?
her little
Her.
Ava.
What's Ava?
She's a little grumpy right now. I would pick her up, but when it's nap time, I just leave her alone. I'm like,
So
okay.
sweet. Well, so much is coming, and one time we're gonna tape, and you're gonna be like, "Oh my God, I met the guy," So you never know. And it can
Yeah.
happen at any moment, at any time. And so
Mhm.
I remind you, be open to possibilities.
Yeah.
Let go of the how and the when, and just focus on the what and the why. And I promise you that faith, it is going to happen. Yep. To
Yeah.
everybody, you're what's meant for you is gonna find you.
Yeah. And to everybody else out there listening too.
That's what I
Listen
mean.
to
Yeah,
her. Yes.
sure. 100%. We're sprinkling fairy dust on everybody.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Karin, for this conversation today, which was amazing. And yeah, thanks for listening to the Dr. Random podcast. And I'm sure we'll do another one at some point down the road. I know we will. Yeah.
Feel some more too.
All
Well,
right.
I hope everybody got something out of it. And thank you so much for having me. I've really enjoyed the time.
Yes. Thank you so much. All right. And I'll tell everybody ciao.
Ciao, ciao.